Thanks for joining Subject to Change for a little deeper dive into the Carbon Dividend Act.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Jodi, how you doing?
All right. How you doing?
Good. It's been a while, I think, hasn't it?
It's been a significant while.
Yeah.
I think when last you knew me, I wasn't like practically white-haired.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. When you see the little microphone in the lower right, click on that to learn more. We're so glad you're here.
I do see your tweets, but that's about it.
What? No retweets from you though. Geez, come on.
I guess I should be, huh? But a lot of like some of the stuff, like your stuff, you're in like a niche that I'm not really. I guess I should just do it, right? But I'm like, what is she talking about?
The Citizens Climate Lobby.
So what's going on with the Citizens Climate Lobby?
What a great organization that is too.
Campaign. Which one is it?
Yeah. Yeah, Jodi, are you a member or are you just kind of?
I'm not a member, but
No.
like when I did green drinks in Albany, I partnered a couple of times with the Citizens Climate Lobby, and I've promoted some of the things they've done. But
Oh, cool.
Yet another thing,
Yeah.
I just haven't had time to join.
Yeah, no problem. I was just curious because I know Jim DeLacio is a member of our chapter, and he's been a huge asset for us. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a upheaval, of course. There's always, when you're dealing with trying to get federal legislation passed, there's always some fire drill emergency. But we did, I think, and Lauren, we talked a long time ago about this. I think we sat down at a coffee shop, I think at Cafe Cubal.
Yeah, and I think my feelings on this have adapted some, so there should be better.
Oh, cool, good, all right.
I want to hear this backstory.
Oh, yeah, I'm relieved to hear that. But yeah, so I mean, we felt like we were in a really good place with Catco, and despite some skepticism out here in the local green community, we really felt good about where we were with him. And then
wait, what's Catco?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. That's our representative here in Central New York.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he's a Republican, so that was
okay.
Very important to us to try to get some bipartisan support and get a Republican on the bill that we actually have introduced. Yeah, we talked with them about it a little bit. Diane's she falls into that skeptic camp, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, so we felt really good about where we were.
She got to me. That's how that happened.
What's that?
I said she got to me.
Oh yeah.
But I've since backed off. I've since realized the critical nature of things, and I'm like,
she's a little bit cynical about Catco being supportive, or a little bit cynical about politics, or a little bit cynical about.
Come on, stop being coy.
Tell me all of the above.
Tell me the topic.
Yeah, she didn't like the whole approach of a carbon tax. She was very. I went to talk to her, I say, and she was very, and whatever. I get it, and we were used to having those conversations, but she came. I don't know, whatever. She just she wasn't going to be.
Years ago, we just thought that we should just be eliminating carbon, but it like for the sake of doing it, and 15 to 20 years later, we're now recognizing that that's still not happening. So I kind of flipped over to the other side where I'm like,
so we have to change. Yeah, we have.
Yeah. That's that's a lot of people have that like, oh, cut it off now. It's like, okay, now can we come back to a little bit more realistic, scenario? But
and I think it's terminology, right? Cap and trade never really made sense to me, but cap and invest makes a lot of sense, and it's the same exact thing. It's just a different name, right?
Yeah.
This bill has 90 co-sponsors.
We did get a sponsor on the exact piece of proposal we were advocating, and that got introduced in 2018 into Congress. It actually had bipartisan support, only 1 or 2 Republicans on it, and they've since moved on out of Congress. But and so that got reintroduced in every session of Congress after that. We were really excited. I mean, now I think the latest introduction has 90 co-sponsors or something.
It's fantastic.
It's really cool. And, we're, spent 15 years trying to make that happen. So that's exciting, but in the current realm of what's going on. And, we sort of shifted focus to say, this Build Back Better thing was, super important. And we thought that was going to get something that could get through Congress. And so our whole organization sort of pivoted a little bit to try to get just a carbon price, not necessarily the whole carbon fee and dividend bill passed, but just to get a price on carbon included in that Build Back Better bill. Actually, we tried to get it in the infrastructure bill too. And so that was kind of a more pragmatic approach that we really hadn't taken in the past. We'd always been like, we want this bill to pass. So that's where things stood. We were still felt like we were on the threshold of getting CATCO to co-sponsor the bill. And we'd done a lot of work here. Center State CEO, he was always interested in what businesses were doing and if they could support this. And we did outreach to MACNY, which is the Manufacturers Association of Central New York. We did outreach to Center State CEO. We had roundtables and things, and he was getting very comfortable with it. And then impeachment and blah blah blah. And so now, and he's not running again. So so he voted for impeachment. Just, you may not know that, not being in this district.
Which is why he's not running again, by the way, because he's being like blotted out by.
You know what? That. New York is so strange to me. It's just so strange. It's real. Anyway, so what you've talked about is the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yep. So I definitely am familiar with that. I always found it interesting. New York State, quite a while ago, set a carbon price for planning purposes. And that was published on the DEC site probably 4 years ago. I forget how much it is, but it was above $100. And the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act is talking about starting pricing at $15 per metric ton.
Right.
I'll have to look up the DEC levels. For some reason, 162 sticks in my head, but that can't be right because my brain isn't that clear.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, if that were actually something like that were to get to put into practice, that if that was 162, let's use that number, that would translate to $1.62 on a gallon of gasoline. So that'd be a tough sell if you tried to throw that out in the public. That was the one thing about ours, was that, it gradually rises. So you're not going to be putting that huge bump at the pump immediately. You're just going to you'll put that price, but it's predictable. And so people know, and when they're planning for investments in, fossil fuel infrastructure or whatever, they have to take that into account, and other things, greener things, start looking a lot more attractive. Yeah.
They actually published on the DEC site, it's $125 a ton. So what they're saying is when state entities do any budget planning for New York State funds, there should be awareness of the price of carbon dioxide, the price of CO2e at 125 per ton, and they should factor that into their planning budgeting in order to make decisions about what energy systems to use. That's where
are they saying that's because there's two different, if they're talking about that sounds like the social cost of carbon to me, and not an internal carbon price, but because usually that's set lower, but I'm not.
Well, it's and they go on to say methane it's definitely social cost, but because methane's at over $2,000 per ton. But here's the thing, when you're investing government money, if you're not including the social cost, you're not actually leading your citizenry well.
Right.
So this is intended to change people's. It's not a cap and trade number, but it's a planning number.
Right. But I'm just saying that when I've seen an actual internal, because companies also use internal carbon pricing in their accounting, there are quite a few that actually do that, but that's set like a lot lower than that usually. But so usually in the $50.
So for people not in this realm, two questions. This planning number, what does that mean? And then secondarily, this like tax, where does that money then go? What does that fund? So two-part question.
Think of it as a smart budgeting tool.
So the
first, Jodi?
Yeah, the planning dollars, and this is something that the Department of Environmental Conservation published as methodology to help all state agencies and authorities understand the cost burden of carbon emissions and have a number to actually put into their planning to understand that they should choose non-fossil fuel systems over fossil fuel systems. So it really is just an accounting trick, a very beneficial one, to put a value on paper so that people can see that even though they're spending half on oil or coal that they would be on electricity, it ends up penciling out when you put in this cost of carbon on top of that cost.
So it's like a grander planning sort of thing to take into consideration, like health and wellness and other community related factors. Like,
yeah, because
saying, like, if you use the fossil fuel source, you're creating this many dollars of something else elsewhere.
Yeah. Health burdens primarily.
Burdens. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So because
sense.
Government is also the manager of healthcare systems and insurances and et cetera, it makes sense on paper. But the reality is that that's been one of the biggest problems in transitioning our industry, is that the people who have to buy the fuel to power their house, it's the externalities, right? They pay for the fuel to power their house, and if they have to pay more for electricity, but they're benefiting the health of their community, they never see that dividend. And then the law, the act that was promoted, the Dividend Act, the point of that was to legislate that there would actually be a return to people who put in an investment in clean non-fossil fuels.
Gotcha.
And they would see some of the monetary benefit.
Yeah,
so two different mechanisms.
Yeah, it's actually direct. So it's every dollar, every penny that's collected as a tax on fossil fuels is actually put in a fund and then redistributed in the form of checks to households.
Petroleum and plastics.
Well, it was interesting in the news today talking about the carbon taxes, that I just saw the Petroleum Institute came out and said they are in favor, and apparently it's not just lip service, which a lot of them have given, but they're saying that they're okay with a carbon tax as their preferred remedy, and they're actually, I guess, kind of pushing Congress to go in that direction. But they're making the political calculation: do we do it before the midterms or after? But the American Petroleum Institute is like, that is. But then, that's like a double-edged sword, because then you get everybody in the green community saying, well, if they're for it, it must be horrible, and so we got to be opposed to it.
No, I think there's another backstory to that, because the petroleum industry has been pushing really hard over the last 5 years to move into increasing plastics production, which is the other big user of petroleum, and they have infiltrated even the building industry. We have more plastic materials in our buildings now than we ever have. I'm worried they're really pushing into that realm, and plastics scare me as much as fossil fuels.
Well, they're going to try to sell their product. There's no getting around that.
I know.
National grid.
Oh, it's insane.
Jodi, you probably didn't see this, but Kyle, maybe you did. Syracuse.com, I want to say in the last couple of days, ran an article about National Grid, and National Grid having concerns over the full electrification.
I saw that.
Yeah, over full electrification of households, of everything, basically. And so
of course they do. It's going to be a hell of a lot of work.
Yes. And what they said was that they don't think that there needs to be diverse sort of approaches. And so right now they're currently pushing some sort of methane based, I shouldn't say pushing, they're promoting a methane based power generation. Is that?
Well, they
better
want
to burn it off than to.
They want to put that in the supply line so that you're
Yeah.
appliances and your furnace and everything are going to burn at like, I mean,
That's
I
too
don't
bad.
know. I mean, but how you do it? They said by 2050, but that you basically, what appliance? I mean, none of these appliances are like warranted or even designed to run on the shit that they're proposing to put in the pipelines, I don't think. But
well, methane,
natural gas.
I think if anything is a natural gas, it's methane. I don't know why we have let ourselves be duped into thinking fracked gas is natural gas. That's the biggest greenwashing thing ever.
Yeah.
National Grid is going to be like any other entity, and they're going to be trying to slow the pace of transition so they can manage it, because the entire grid is centralized, and it's going to have to be decentralized and turned entirely to renewables. If they're not in panic mode, then they're not paying attention.
Did you get the sense that they're in panic mode, Kyle?
At least they're trying to talk about methane, which is a waste gas that often is left to just go off into the atmosphere, and it's a horrific gas. It has like 70 times the impact of CO2.
Well, you were just talking about the numbers, the built-in the accounting numbers of it, and it was significantly more.
Yeah, it was
and they mentioned they mentioned landfill gas and some of it, but the issue's never been like, that you couldn't burn it. It's like, how are you getting it from point A to point B?
Yeah, point A to point B is the issue, right? Yeah. So that's the decentralized part. But if they think they're going to just somehow scoop up all the methane emissions from all the landfills and all the farms in New York State and turn them into power, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah, and my read was not that they wanted to turn it. I mean, I could be wrong, Lauren. You read the article too, but my read wasn't that they wanted to actually collect it and turn it to power. They actually wanted to put it in the distribution system that was going to go to your furnace and stove.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's how I understood.
See, okay, that's
I'll send you the article, Jody, because I sent it
send me
to
the article.
Straley yesterday or earlier today with a note that goes, "I have whiplash. Which direction am I supposed to be looking in?"
That's funny.
But in theory, like, anyway, we're probably diving in this too long, but like they own the electric grid too. So if you're moving from gas to electric, I mean, my simple mind says, why are you that worried about it? But whatever.
Yeah, it's true. But they have to totally remanufacture the electric grid to be distributed generate. It's really a radical transformation, and the climate law in New York State is requiring that to be done. So they're trying to position themselves in whatever way they can. But
Kyle, you were right all along.
Yeah, my elevator pitch is that, like we're all invested in the fossil fuel. That's what I don't think people like acknowledge. We're all invested in the fossil fuel in one way or another. And so until you have to change that, the economics of it to move everybody. Just the people. You can't just move the people that care about it. Everybody has to move in the economy, and the price on carbon is the best way to do that, as far as I can see.
Yeah,
excellent.
Turns out you were right all along.
I love hearing that.
It takes a big, confident person to say that, that somebody else was right and they were wrong, Lauren.
Yeah,
she said he was.
And to all of our subscribers.
Yeah,
they've now heard it.
They've now heard it. Right. I really appreciate your time.
We'll let you off the hook, Lauren, if you write to your member of Congress and the president and say a price on carbon is what we need to move.
Happy to do it.
All
Happy
right,
to do it. We'll even post a letter. I'll post a letter or a form letter or whatever people to access, to be able to write their own letters.
And to find a link to their local rep.
Link to their
we'll
local
post
reps.
a link to a local, there are databases that just say, here's your local representative, here's your local senator.
Do you have a form letter already, or do I have to write one?
we on CCL's website, we actually have a link where you go and you press it, you put in your zip code. It has forms to send to your senators, your member of Congress, and the president, and you just got to
All right.
That's what I like to hear. I'm going to do that.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to do it and I'm going to promote it.
Carbon fee and dividend.
Woohoo! Once you price something, you can actually get people to pay attention.
Well, I feel like I owe a public apology to Kyle and the Citizens
Climate Lobby.
Thank you. The Citizens Climate Lobby. Wanted to make sure I get it right, as well as apparently the rest of at least New York State and humanity as a whole, and say, I am sorry that it took me 15 to 20 years to get on board with a carbon tax that we should have been doing all along. As it turns out, I had my head in the clouds. I thought we were going to see some real huge changes that were going to negate it. I was worried about the cost being infiltrated down into classes of people that couldn't afford it. And you know what? We're at this point now where it's like, let's just go. Let's just do it. You guys were right. So public apology, Kyle.
Oh, that's okay. I just feel like I failed in my mission to convert you then and there at the coffee shop. I don't know.
You know what? Diane Brandley had a far greater hold on me, didn't you, Diane? Yeah. I think she watches. She's going to be rolling over at the fact that I converted sides. I didn't convert. I'm just desperate. It's just desperation.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, you know what? It's in our nature. I'm in that, like the three of us probably to, and others that we've talked to think that these things are so clear. We shouldn't have to have a force mechanism, but we often have to have the grassroots effort and the force mechanism of money and the force mechanism of legislation in order to make these things move forward, because people are inherently resistant to change. It's not that they're idiots. It's not that they're mean. It's that it's really, really hard to do things differently. Okay. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah, this
all
is
of your
awesome.
work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was great talking with you both again.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me, and let's keep the discussion going.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Keep
us posted.